There are 3 more sections in Chapter 4. In this video, we will talk about how to use switch statement. The next video, we will extend how to use the switch statement. We will implement a menu system console output. So the last one, we will learn more how to compare character and string. So the first one, let's talk about the switch statement. The switch statement, when we're using that, that's because sometimes we have many different choices. So you need to use to select among statements from several different alternatives. So for example, your input can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have so many different options. Only the input is exactly matched with the number, then we will do something. So this one we learned, we will using if-else-if statement from the prior lecture. But here we will show you another way to write since we have so many different choices. Instead to use the if-else-if statement, we will using the switch statement. So here is the switch statement how we will do. So the first thing you have the switch keyword. Then afterward you have the parentheses. That's for the expression. But this expression actually is not really a logical expression. Usually this expression just a value, either is the character or integer. So then when we have this input expression, in the switch statement, you have a block. So this block, you can have multiple different cases. So those cases, for example, we have expression 1, expression 2. So those cases actually is match the input value we put after the parentheses from the switch. So then you see here, if your case, the data match the case, so then we do something here. So each cases afterward, they can have multiple statements. So then each statement just separate with the semicolon. So then here you can see you can have 1 to n different cases. And at the end, we also have a default. So this default is if all the case not match, so then we do this one. So that's why we can compare the switch statement from the if-else-if statement. So you can see here, usually we only compare one value. So this value equal to 0, we do something. Else, if that equal to 2, we do something. So then remember, when you have so many if-else-if statements, at the end, that's an else. So this else actually just means if none of those value match, so I do something here. Right, so this situation, basically we try to check the value input to see what is the value contained in this input variable. So then we do something. So when we convert this if-else-if statement into the switch, then here the expression is the input we show you from the prior example. So you can see here, right? So we want to you just provide the input variable here. So then we will according to the value. Then we check with the cases. So earlier we tried to check if input equal to 1. So on the other hand, if input equal to 1, you see here, that's our case keyword, then space. The value here is matching the expression after this switch. So that's we do here. Let me using the same color. So for example, you see input is here, right? So then we put in the switch expression. So then according to the value, the different value we matching. Okay, so if this one is 1, 2, 3. So that's the different value for the input. Then when we convert into the switch statement, you have the input. So then you see the value here is the case. Of course, you can see earlier we have so many if, else, if. So then you see your else basically is your default because none of that match. So that's the switch statement. So basically switch statement is we want to, instead of we have so many layer if, else, if statement, we just make them all in the one code block. So then we have the switch keyword. That's the input you have. So then we have different case what we want to do. So that will make your program look nicer. So that's the example here, how we will really put the switch statement in our code. So here we will have the choice. So we ask the user to enter either uppercase A, B, or C. So then here we see in the choice, we save in a character variable. So that's why you see here, your choice will be inside the switch. So after the switch expression, you see here, that's our matching. Okay, so your case is a keyword. So according to the value in the parentheses, you see we know that's a character. So that's why we need to use in the single quote, A, B, C. So then you see here, after you see the user enter A, if choice is A, we just see out, you enter A. Then B, you see out, you enter B. So C, you enter C. Then even you feel like I only give the user ABC. So that's why here you have the ABC choice, right? But one thing is, default actually is the other good way to show the arrow input. Because if the user enters something, we save in the choice. But they are not A, B, and C. So then you see not A, not B, not C. So this default, since here we only ask user to enter A, B, or C. So if not A, B, C, so default we can just say you didn't enter the value we asked you to enter. So that's kind of one error handling. So then you see you can run on the program here. So we put in the Cloud9. So we run the program here to see what's your result. Okay, so then we run. So that's why you can see here, we ask the user to enter A, B, or C. So now we can do, so that's why they show, you see, because you choose A, so then we give them the result. And also the same thing, let me show you the error handling, because if the user didn't enter A, B, or C, so that's why you see our default still can prompt to the value. Because supposedly I told you to enter A, B, or C. So then if you give me something else, okay, so then you see we can do something else after the default. So, or sometimes we can say that's an invalid input. Please provide A, B, or C. So then we can give user the information. So that's the example about the switch statement. So how to add lowercase a, b, or c? So one thing is sometimes even we ask the user to enter the uppercase A, B, C, but sometimes user just didn't pay attention. So if we still allow user enter the lowercase a, we still give them the same result, you enter A. So then what we can do is, for your cases, if you have the same result for multiple cases, what we need to do is we just add more case here. So for example here, if I allow user either enter uppercase A or lowercase a, we all display you enter A. So then you can have, you see, the case after your case, comma. So then you do another case, comma. So the same thing here, if we want to do for the case B, so we can just add the lowercase one. So the same thing for the lowercase c, you can just add that. So what they do is they will check the case one by one. If they match one of that, you do this one. So then the rest of that's the same thing. You have uppercase A, uppercase B or lowercase b, you all do this result. So then you can run your program again. Then we will see after we change, right? So we ask the user to enter uppercase A, but user didn't see that. So then you want the uppercase ABC, but you give it a lowercase. So you still accept that. So then we can do that. So that's our example, the first example about the switch. So then you can see also we see the other keyword you never see that is the break keyword. So this break actually is highly recommend you do that, because once you have this case is choice, right? So then you will go this code block. So then after we finish, we can break from our switch statement. And also the same thing for default. That's highly recommend, because even you feel like you cover all the cases, but sometimes maybe they still have some error you didn't include. So the default actually is very good to cover anything else you didn't list in the case. So continue, we talk about the switch statement requirement. So the expression after the switch keyword, usually we only allow the integer variable. So they can be int or character, or an expression that evaluates to an integer value. For example, you can do some calculation. For example, you can do input times 2. Okay, something like that. You can have the expression actually after the mathematical calculation. That's okay too. But one thing is the result we really want is you need to be the character. You need to be the character or integer value. So then you see your expression 1 to expression n, they need to match on your value. So they need to be a constant integer or literal. They cannot be any variable. So then the last one, the default we say is optional, but it's really highly recommended. So again, that's how the switch statement works. The expression after the switch in the parentheses is evaluated. The value of expression is compared against different cases. So this one is through expression 1, expression n, that means the cases. If the expression match specific cases value, the program branches to the statement following by the cases, the match cases, the match cases. Then they will continue to the end of the switch. So if no match value found, the program branch to the statement after the default. So that's why we see if you don't have no matching value, they will execute what the default. So one thing is, even in each cases, you have multiple line, right? Multiple statements. But in the switch statement is a little different. For after each cases, you can have multiple statements, but they don't need the braces to contain in each cases. So then about the break statement. So this one is used to exit a switch statement. So like earlier we said, you see here, suppose you have choice, right? We will check. But if this choice is A, so then I just see out, you enter A. Then when I see the break, I just go to the end of the switch block. I won't check one by one. So that's why even the break is optional, but we highly recommend it. Because one thing is, if you have a match, right, you execute all the statements afterward. But then after they're done, they just break to the end of the switch. So that's why you don't need to go over the rest of the case to do the comparison. But of course, you see, if this one is C, what I will do is C not equal to A, so I skip. C not equal to B, I skip. Also C equal to C, so then I come here. So then if I have a break, then I will finish. But if you see, if you don't have those break, even my choice is A, so I will come here. So then I execute this one. But they will continue to check if A equal to B, A equal to C. So that's why you do the redundant check if you don't have the break at the end.